CQ Radio, millions of people listening. Today we got a great guest. The name is Julio Moros, a legend of tennis, one of the founding father of Voluntary Tennis Academy. Julio, um, you've done a lot for Voluntary Academy, and can you go back and tell us what triggered you to leave? Why you had to leave?
In 1987, when Mr. McCormick took over the duties of the academy, financially and everything else with it, I felt that perhaps was time for me to move on, since I was no longer in charge of the MBTA anymore on the daily duties. So I decided to look around, and Nick introduced me to a guy by the name of Piero Rivolta, which he was developing a big, massive apartments and houses around the University Parkway. So I met him, and Mr. Rivolta was very, very much interested in building a tennis club, but he now wanted to put up his money to do it. So then I met him, and he said, "Look, I want to build this club, but somebody got to put up the money." So I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I will give you the land. There's 3 courts up there that are in the middle of nowhere. And if you find the money to develop whatever you want to do in there as a tennis club, you go ahead and you got my blessing." So obviously at that time, 1987, lucky working so hard for Nick Volacherio over the year for 20 years. So I had saved some money. So I went out there and took it upon myself I'm going to build my own tennis club. So with the money I saved up, and I asked Mr. Mars to lend me $500,000, and then I went to a bank and I said I needed $300,000. And with my $300,000, I gathered $1.1 million. So I went out there, and all of a sudden I had $1.1 million that I can work with. So I went and got, I had some friends they were in the construction business. I went out there and told them what I wanted to do, and I said, "Yes, sir, you got the money. We got to know how to build your tennis club," and that's how I ended up building my tennis club, the Longwood Tennis and Health Club.
Yeah, were you alone in the construction of Longwood? Because I remember renting courts from you, or you had a partner.
No, I was my own. I mean, I wasn't the hook for the money that I borrowed from Mr. Louis Marks and the money that I borrowed from the bank. But I was the owner of the club. So it was my job to build it. I just told the construction people how to, this is what I wanted to do. They put it together in a piece of paper, and they came out with the idea. And I said, "We're going to build you 17 more courts. We're going to build a restaurant. We're going to build a jacuzzi. We're going to build a locker room. We're going to build a fitness center, and we're going to build a restaurant," and so forth. So I said, "Fine, go ahead and do it." So we made it the deal, and I was alone in my deal. And then 6 months later, the Longwood Tennis Club was born, and over there in the middle of Sarasota.
Right, I remember. Longwood Tennis Club, great club with 19 courts or 20 courts, right in the middle on 20 courts on University Parkway.
Right.
So tell us, you have your own club now, beautiful club in the middle of Sarasota. How long you own it, and the ownership change?
Well, I worked very hard, for the 5 years. I mean, I opened the club at 6 in the morning and closed it at 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. So that's what it takes to to operate a facility. Obviously having the spirit with military, we used to work in 18 hours a day, no rest and so forth. So you got to continue doing it. But after a while, after 5 years, I had a son, and we also had a young girl. My two children, Stephen and Christina. And then I was making good money in the club, but I was working a lot. So one day, my son says, "Dad, you don't have no time for me anymore. You always busy. You're either cleaning the bathrooms, or you sweeping, or you brushing the course, or you're giving a lesson, or you're on the phone. You don't have time for me." So that kind of hit me in the face, like if somebody hit me with a brick. And I realized that I was doing well financially. I realized that I was doing something good for the community, but at the same time, you got to pay attention to your family. So I went out there and decided that, for me to spend more time with my son at those time and my daughter Christina, the best thing to do is sell the club. So I went out and sold the club in 1993 after a 5 years period with me.
So, do you mind sharing how much the club was sold for?
Well, I didn't sell it for too much because, in those days, the competition started coming around. The lake, the other clubs started coming up here in the area around. So the club, it was worth it, but it was hard for me to keep it up all the time. So I sold the club for $900,000 to a gentleman that was looking around for the club at the time.
Okay. All right, but I believe you sold it, but people have the rumor had it that you were still part owner.
Unfortunately, I did not protect myself, financially well because the gentleman that bought the club, they pay only so much money up front. And, but he asked me to stay around and help him out with the club. But I had no control over it anymore. So after I sold it to him, he kind of began to kind of cut down some service and so forth. Before they know it, it was no good for me to continue there. So after 2 years of helping the gentleman with the club was deteriorated too much because there was not work taking care of it. A lot of the members are leaving. So I said, I told the gentleman, just unfortunately he could not. Told me could not pay the money that we agreed they will owe me after we sold the club. After I sold the club to him, so one day for the heck of it around, I decided to go to Military Academy again and see how it was doing over there. Even though we stay in contact so much every day, for the last couple of years. So then he said, "I understand you decide to quit helping the gentleman you sold the club to." And then he says, "Why don't you come and work for me again?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I'll be there." He says, "I'll be there next week." He says, "Nope, you don't start next week. You start tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock in the morning again." So like the all days. I said, "Yes, sir, I will be here tomorrow 6 o'clock in the morning again."
So from selling your club, you went back to the academy?
Yeah, after a couple of years and helping the gentleman that I sold the club to, I went back to the academy, and then we did it all over again. So it was like a reborn again.
Wow, interesting. So, what was your experience owning your own club? I know you had to give some time for the kids, for your family. If you have to do it over again, what would you do differently?
Well, I will hire an assistant. That's what I will do differently. An assistant that will take care of your duties, But obviously, I was young and energetic, and, I can do anything in life, dressing to tennis. So having the assistant, they take care of some things. It helps for you to take off a little bit from your job and spend some time with your family. But in those days, I feel that, I was in control. I had the energy, and the dedication to continue on the club. So I did that. But on the other thing in life, in order to be successful, you have to pay a price. And lucky that I realized now after a few years of running my own club, I feel that your family is the most important part of your life. It's the most important thing in your life. So I feel that making money is good. But if you having children, if you're not giving attention to the children, what is the point? So I feel that selling the club was the best thing for me, and spend time with my son, the next 5 years. So obviously that's what I feel that I needed to do, and that's what I was going to do anyway.
Well, interesting story there. So I know you've done a lot at voluntary for your club and for others. So if you could tell us, if I forgot to ask you one question, what would that question be? You could say, "Hey, Sekou, you didn't ask me about this."
Well, I feel that pretty much are covered, your business and what we stand for. I feel like life is not. It's not how much money you got in the bank. It is how much you're willing to do for others with the money you have. And I believe, we were lucky because we worked so hard, and we live in a concept on helping the young generations. I think that is more work in life. What is the most important to me? The most important to me is what you do for others. Doing for others is what is your legacy, and you'll be well known for, not for the money you got in the bank. So I feel that what we did was perhaps something that we wanted to do, even though without knowing that's what we wanted to do. But the more we did it, the more satisfaction we got out of ourselves. And I am very happy with myself that I was able to be some sort of a help to others, especially the younger generation. And I feel that is very worth in life, no matter how much money you have in life.
Well, but we live in a capitalist society, though. Some people would not not want to hear. But now let's talk about Mr. Marx. It seems like he was the good guy. It's very hard in our society to see somebody who has money that I give you 1.2 million, I give you $500,000, and pay me if you make it. Those times are over. We don't find people like that anymore.
It will be difficult, but at least along some way, I know there's a lot of good people in this world. I do believe some people are willing to help, but on the other hand, unfortunately, they want something in return. We were lucky to have met Mr. Marx. He believed he was a tennis fanatic in those days. He believes he believed in us. He thinks we had a good heart, and we were able to do. We were accomplished no matter what, and he didn't care about the money, but he felt that, that money Mr. Marx was making a lot of money in those years. When you're making $50 million a year in those days, and if you lose one or two, $3 million, it really not making a difference. For him was what he can do with his money, how he can help people, how he can start something that hopefully the people will embrace, that's what the people did, embrace it around the world, the Nick Voluntary Tennis Academy. So how he can be able to help. And he felt like, why not? Why not we do something that will benefit the generation? Because you got to open opportunities to the younger generation. And people with money, hopefully they realize that. And the more people are willing to take a chance on people by donating the money or giving the money so they can do something that will benefit others, why not?
Is Mr. Marx still around?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Are you still in touch with him?
No,